So, um, sometimes, like the early visions and like what the vision is for Music Mondays really gets confused with a lot of people. And some people like don't like understand what Music Mondays is doing, right? Like they don't necessarily understand Music Mondays because in a landscape where there's so many platforms that do artists dirty, that like make artists like false promises and are just involved in a lot of like weird, fraudulent, dark activity. Like the Music Mondays vision is like hard for people to get behind. Like people almost are so used to like being able to like pay for stuff and like pay for promo, pay for interviews and things like that. But that's never been the work I've done. Like anything I've grown and built, whether it be UVC, 29 Club, the list goes on of like platforms that were so influential at one point. It's hard for people to wrap their heads around that these days, because there isn't a lot of those out there, and the ones that are out there usually are like super focused on like the best of the best, and like they only allow like the most fire artists, right? Like quote unquote the most, you know, hottest underground music. And Music Mondays will never be that platform. We specialize in discovering new artists, promoting new artists, putting the spotlight on not only musicians, but the people that help musicians, the people that create other forms of art, the people that nobody knows about, or, you know, nobody checks the credits for, or, you know, whether you are a cover art designer, you're an editor, you're a producer, you're a vocalist, you're a filmer. All those things matter here at Music Mondays, and that's what's very different about us. We don't really care if you have a lot of clout or like what your resume is, because we always treat everything equally here. If it's your first time here on Music Mondays, we're gonna be non-biased and treat you like we've never heard about you before, and just go in with a blindfold, really. And a lot of people aren't used to that because they're used to like promises and used to like other weird things by platforms, because that like is so like easy to do, right? Like that's so easy. Like you could start a platform tomorrow and just be a piece of shit, like charging like $20 for posts and shit. Like, bro, I've been in this space for 5 years, right? 5 years. I've written close to 100 pieces. If you want to count reviews, definitely 100 written pieces. And never once have I charged for an interview, paid for an interview, none of those things. And if I had taken the money that has been offered me over the years, I would have a new BMW in my driveway, for sure. Like, I build and create things and make platforms to sustain artists that don't have platforms yet. Those artists that are so hardworking and so talented and just don't have a leg and don't understand where to go and don't know how to navigate. And this is truly a sanctuary. But the difference between us and everybody else is it's not just music here, it's everything. All forms of underground art, all forms of independent art. It's all very, very important. And there are a lot of people out here that need light shined on them. And Music Mondays is slowly like building towards a platform that can sustain all of that. And that's why I do this every Monday. That's why I started the show. That's why I had all these ideas. And, you know, when I left a lot of my teams and everybody separated, I knew that it was going to be hard, but that vision was still there for me. And it was still, like, there was still a proper way to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was still a proper way for this shit to be fucking done. And nobody had done it yet. It just, you know, people let greed get in the way. People do shitty business. People fuck people over. And that's why it's so important to me, like, do things the right way. And, like, create a genuine, honest place for all types of artists and creators to come together and find new creators and see what's going on in the underground space and promote all sorts of really, really unheard of creativity. And it's just always been very important to me, and it's why I started this. And that's how I'll finish it. So, in case anybody had a misunderstanding on what Music Mondays is, that's what Music Mondays is. So, just had to touch on that. Sometimes people get, you know, clouded, and granted, like, being a new artist out here isn't always the easiest thing, so it's understandable, you know. One thing about, you know, being in a creative space like this is you can never take anything really personal. So that's why I always have no problem explaining things and really establishing a vision that people can really understand. That's why I love the show. That's another reason why I started the show, was to be able to just document all of this and document the underground and document my own journey and my journey now with Music Mondays. Like, the show started off just as a regular podcast, and now I've transformed it into a full-fledged media company that supports only underground art. So that's something I always will try to not only make easily accessible to people, but just make people understand it best. So that's that. Definitely sort of an interesting topic, but very important, you know? Very, very important shit to talk about, for sure.